Hello and welcome to our review for the Children of Gabriel. That is the third episode of the sixth season of the 100. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a pretty good episode. We were just talking a little bit about it, and you felt like a lot happened in this episode. There was quite a bit of action
Mhm.
um, with the people on the spaceship and their interactions with the children of Gabriel, the people who aren't really allies of Sanctum, it looks like. They want to kill the Primes. I
Mhm.
thought the lore was really interesting. I loved the whole sayings, especially things like Death to Primes. I thought that was really, really interesting. And um, the whole, like, hallowed be her name, or whenever
Mhm.
they talk about Primes, they kind of like ritualize them. And I do like the society that they have and how it seems to remind me of like their own group and how they have a very basically archaic form of doing things. They have a couple people calling shots, kind of like kings and queens. They don't really do things very democratically in the 100. Like Clark is a bit of a princess.
Yeah. And it seems like all the people are really happy being that way. Like nobody except for the outsiders has really expressed like any kind of distaste for the leadership at all yet. I guess it's only been a couple of episodes, but you would think by now there'd be a little bit of like something.
Yeah, well, it seems like most of them were driven out recently. I would assume. I don't know how long these people have been living out in the forest, but I believe it has something to do with Russell. Um, they seem to indicate at the beginning of the episode that he saved Sanctum, which probably means that he drove out people who disagreed with the whole um, royalty aspect of things. What did they also say? Like death is life, I think. I think they don't like the idea of passing on their knowledge, their lives. It seemed like almost Delilah felt like after that night in the morning, she was going to become an entirely different person. She wasn't going to get to be herself anymore. So maybe the whole um, chip interaction is actually very different than the way it works with the people on Earth. Maybe the chip takes more of like a front seat than a back seat in the whole
Mhm.
dynamic, and the host is kind of like secondary, maybe
Yeah.
even gone, you know?
Maybe it's I mean maybe she's thinking more about like responsibility too, right? Like she'll have to I mean theoretically she would have more responsibility as a chip bearer.
Well, their society, I think, kind of depends on these people giving up some people to become the new royalty every so often. And actually, does that make sense? No, because she had the blood. She was born with it, right? I still don't
Mm-hmm.
understand all the aspects of how Nightblood really works because it sounds like it's hereditary for the most part. That's how it was on Earth, right?
Yeah.
And that's how it is here too. So they can't really just like make people into Nightbloods, which is weird because they definitely did that pretty easily with Clark. And these people on Alpha seem to be fairly smart. So I feel like they should be able to make other people into royalty or Nightbloods, whatever you want to call it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, I think they've chosen actually to make it more of like a not everybody can, so that they can have their society structured in a certain way. And maybe the commanders of Earth did that way for a certain reason too, because I don't think every Nightblood is a descendant of was it Becca?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think it was Becca. Yeah, she made Nightblood. She put it in her blood. She knew how to make that blood, but I don't know if I think actually she couldn't make more of it because she made it in space. So maybe every Nightblood is actually all of on Earth. Maybe all those Nightbloods are actually descendants of her. I'm not entirely too sure.
I thought that was the point.
It must be, right? Actually, she must have like made babies with some of the people on Earth, and that's all the Nightbloods.
Right.
And I guess somehow some of the original primes survived. That first son, I think the father, survived.
Hmm.
Um, and then I guess maybe he used the embryos to create families, new families, to resurrect his dead scientists, friends. Like
Hmm.
I think a lot of the people he shot and killed are the primes, and they were able to pass on their knowledge, which is why it's pretty devastating that the children of Gabriel took 3 of the 12 primes. That's like a good chunk of the.
9 primes, yeah. Um, yeah, I mean that's like a huge chunk of them, and they had, what was it? Rose
Hmm.
also to kill off. I don't know who Rose was, but
She's probably the inheritor of one of the 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 chips, one of the primes.
well, right. I mean, my point is, I don't think they introduced her as a character.
You don't
Like,
remember her? She was the little
no.
kid in the very beginning of the episode that like said hello to them, and Kaylee, the prisoner. You remember Kaylee?
Why would they give a little kid the chip?
They
Or
haven't
did
given it
they?
to her yet. I think she's
Oh, okay.
she's if I understood it correctly, the mother that was talking to Russell about Rose going missing, I think that was Rose's mother, and she's also a prime, like one of the primes that they
Hmm.
introduced earlier in the episode. There's a good number of them, and I don't think they all were in any one scene. I think they're kind of spread out throughout the episode. There's a couple primes here
Hmm.
and a couple primes there. Um, but who knows really like how this Priya naming ceremony is going to work if it had anything to do with Kaylee's family. I think it had
Right.
something to do with that family, right?
Yeah, probably. I mean, their like system of order is so weird because they have that guy, what, Cassius,
Killian,
who
the
or
doctor.
no, like the main guy who has red hair. I don't remember his name. Is he a doctor?
Russell is the one in charge of
Okay,
Sanctum,
fine, Russell.
I
Well,
think.
like, why is he in charge if he like bows down to the primes? Like, what do the primes do? You know? Do they just exist?
I'm trying to
Or do
remember
they actually
who
like
you're talking about with the red hair because I think the guy in charge that I'm thinking about has like gray hair.
whatever? The guy in charge with the mean wife.
Yeah, okay. He's a Lightborn. He's a prime. He's one of the primes.
So why did he like bow down to the other one? The girl.
His wife,
No, the girl, the who was getting the name change.
Delilah, becoming Priya the
Right.
Seventh. Why
Right.
did he
Yeah. So
bow
I'm
down to
really good
her?
with names. Yeah, but like he remember because Jordan went up there and was like chatting up her, and then he was like, "You need to get out of here. What are you doing?" And then Delilah was like, "Oh, he's with me," and he goes, "Oh, I'm so sorry," and like backed away.
Oh, that wasn't Russell. I think because you're watching on the phone, you may be confused. The just like some like background guard with like the main
They
person.
look the same. Their face, their hair is like they're very similar.
Yeah, no, like Russell Lightborn, the guy in charge, does not have red hair. He has gray hair, but I guess he kind of looked like that guard. That guy's just a guard that was like, "Oh yeah, I believe you can't be there," and then she's like, "No, you can be here." If I'm remembering that correctly, maybe it was Russell, but I'm pretty sure it was just like some red-headed guard,
Okay.
and he was like, "You can't be out here," and she was like, "Actually, I'm in charge. You take my orders."
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, my bad.
I think that's what happened if I'm remembering that correctly, but I could be wrong.
Well, anyway, it's not that important.
That's okay. I'm looking at my notes just to figure out what else I want to talk about before moving on. I like the line at the beginning of the episode with Russell where he mentioned the demon Gabriel and how the poison made him think he could walk on water. And it did
Mm-hmm.
seem very biblical, right? Because you mentioned before we started that, Gabriel was in the Bible. He's known as a bit of like a truth teller. And the fact that he thought he could walk on water also seemed like a bit of a Bible reference, like everybody knows the thing about Jesus walking on water, right?
Right. Well, the thing I think is more interesting is the Gabriel's children thing because like the angel Gabriel named two people in the Bible, and um, one was Jesus and one was John the Baptist, which is interesting because I'm like, well, I don't know who Jesus is supposed to be, but John, if like Murphy's connected to that in any way, like that would be kind of cool. I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. I also think it's interesting, like the outside people call themselves the children of Gabriel, so like, but Gabriel was like a good guy in the Bible, so are they just like trying to subvert it, or is it like, are the bad people actually the good people and like the good people the bad people and like
Oh yeah, I think the people in Sanctum are the enemies. They're associating with the wrong people. They're not associating with the good people. The good people don't want royalty. They want people to live more naturally and free of that kind of hierarchy. And I think um, yeah, the whole reference to Gabriel is kind of like an indication that they're not necessarily the bad people. They don't even use guns, they use darts. They don't try to kill their enemies. They take Octavia prisoner using the farce as a weapon. They do seem more like the good people than the bad people, even if they do want to just kill the primes, and it seems kind of like crazy from an outside perspective. Um, but you said earlier that he told, like, Gabriel in the Bible, he told Mary and Joseph that Jesus was like the Son of God, right?
right. Yes.
So I think in a lot of ways he started the movement that became the religion, because without that knowledge, who knows what path that could have all gone down, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
I
I
guess
think
so.
I think he's just kind of like the foundation with his like whatever like sight into the truth or whatever you want to call it. He kind of like started the whole thing that made things better or different, whatever you want to call it. Like he started the movement, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he started something probably around the time when Russell was uh, brought into power. Maybe Russell's father trusted Gabriel too much. Maybe Gabriel wasn't a prime, but he gained some power and he was given a second chance, and that backfired on Russell. I think that whole story about the dog is a little bit more of a story about their history and their interactions with other people than about the dog itself, right?
Um, I yeah, I guess so.
I mean,
Well, I think the story was supposed to be like a metaphor. It's not about the dog, like whatever, right?
yeah.
Although it was kind of gross that he kept feeding the dog off the like as he was saying the story. It was like kind of weird. Like it reminded me of like um actually in like Harry Potter when Mad Eye Moody, like who is pretending to be the professor, like is messing with the spider thingy, and like he's talking about it in like a fond way but also like torturing it. So like I don't know, it gave me weird vibes. I don't like that guy. I don't like that character. Like that what's
Mhm.
his name, Russell? He seemed kind of creeps me out.
Mhm. Yeah,
uh
he's probably going to be a bit of a good guy compared to the other primes. I think he's going to be the most redeemable out of them, but he's definitely going to have like qualities that make him into a villain in a lot of ways. Like the people that were in charge of Mount Weather weren't all bad, but some elements were bad, and that really was the with the who the 100 came into conflict with, not the good people who were in charge, but the other people that were kind of in charge.
mm-hmm.
I like the line where he said, "Choose your most disposable." He does seem like a bit of a villain in that regard. Like when he said to Clark, "Send your most disposable out on this mission," and I thought it was interesting that he sent Kaylee out because isn't she a prime?
um
And
yeah, I mean I think that was showing more like disregard for outsiders rather than like caring for his own people, you know? Like it's not like he chose his most disposable people, right?
but my whole point is, why was Kaylee's family out so close to the red sun, and like what kind of mission were they on, and why were just these four primes out there and not all these other people that they could have sent out on a mission? It seemed very strange that those people of all people were out on a mission that led them to be close to the spaceship, and they had to hijack it, or they were going to go crazy due to the red sun, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Even though they had like the masks on and all that other stuff, the ventilation system, which seems like it would help if it's all in the air. Who knows? Maybe it's not good enough, but it's good enough for certain things in the wilderness. I really enjoyed that scene with Maddie, Gaia, and Dioza. I thought that was really fun when they had their whole exchange where Maddie was like training with Gaia, and Dioza was just kind of being like the cynical mentor in the background, the one who's seen it all.
Mm-hmm.
And and then I really liked how they kind of used Dioza's character later in the episode, how she was kind of in the history books as alongside Bin Laden and Hitler. I thought that was like, wow, these people are, of course they're going to hate her, but the history is painted by the winners, and apparently the people in charge of their society before Dioza went off on her
Yeah.
prisoner thing
Who
hired
told?
her to do a lot of the things she did. So is it like she was like a CIA secret operative or something along those lines? I forget what it was exactly. What were you gonna say?
Who like called her Dioza and like revealed that who she was?
Oh, I forget at the end of the episode. It wasn't that long ago, but it was just kind of like somebody said her name, like very casually.
Yeah.
But there,
Well, I'm kind of curious. I missed that part, so.
it was gonna come up eventually, like unless they were smart enough. Dioza should have changed her name a long time ago if that was possible. It would have been going by a different name a long time ago.
Yeah.
But that's just me. You called a lot of stuff. We were talking about this earlier. I thought it was really cool how like you called how the shield is more of a dome, how it surrounds the entire things, which makes sense based on how that swarm was chasing them. I was like, why didn't they just go over the fence? You know, because it was a dome that goes all the way around. But I think you called it before that. I can't remember why you
Yeah.
said.
Why did I say that? Because it's exactly like the Hunger Games, and that they showed it in the trailer.
Oh, they showed it like from the top.
They didn't, not exactly. It was kind of from the side, but yeah, like I could tell from the angle they showed that it was more like dome shaped.
You got a keen attention to detail. You also called that Jordan was gonna hook up with like somebody on the planet and not one of the 100, not one of Monty's friends, which I think it's like now looking back on it, it's like, well, duh. And it was like the first thing he did. He's like, oh, yeah, yeah, sure, you're about my age. Why not? Let's see what happens.
Ah,
Kind of
yeah.
awkward.
I mean, she was into it, evidently, since she like shut Murphy down hella hard. Like,
No, Murphy just kind of like make fun of him a little bit, and she's like, no, I like it. Shut up, go away.
hmm.
I don't think Murphy was making any move, if that was what you're indicating.
No, that's not what I'm saying. No, no. um, yeah, I mean, well, he tried. He didn't succeed really, Jordan, with his game.
Yeah, well, he
Yeah,
almost did. If it wasn't for the whole
he
children of
tried. I mean, he
Gabriel,
saw some titties, so
that's better than
sorry if
anything
that's
that he's seen before, I guess. I don't
huh?
know. Yeah, I don't think you're gonna get in trouble for that. You think you can say that, Dagmar? You hated Clark's dress like a lot, right?
Oh, well, it just reminded like okay, anyone who like danced from like 2001 to like 2008 will know what I'm talking about when I say that dress is like ugly and just looks like a contemporary dance dress that like everybody used to wear. And like it would be like those dresses and then like tank tops and gauchos in that like slinky fabric and like literally everyone used them in those like horrible colors. I don't like it. And it's
Yeah.
like it's really like supposed to represent this like free movement, like almost hippie but not quite hippie. I was getting a lot of um like Grecian vibes from when they were doing the harvest thing, like, or
Uh-huh.
you know what I mean? Like not
The
necessarily Grecian, but
festival.
like yeah, like um Dionysus vibes, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I
Uh,
think I know what you
they
mean.
were all like dancing around, and I could just see a harp in like someone's hand, like you know what I mean. It's just
Mm-hmm.
um weird, and they were all wearing white and like, eh.
They seem like they're wearing medieval clothes. The architecture is very medieval. Everything is very medieval about it. I see. I know what you mean.
Well, it's not really medieval, but it's
Or before medieval is what you're saying.
right.
Yeah,
I mean, it's
more
interesting.
Roman.
Right. Yes.
But yeah, like
Very stuff.
the toga stuff. I saw it a little bit, and I like it. I didn't think her look was very like Roman or whatever you say it. Like Clark's whole thing
No,
just
I
looked
didn't.
like
I didn't either, but during the
yeah,
actual harvest, the people they showed were very much in that style.
yeah. I didn't really like her dress either. I thought it was kind of out of place because it didn't look like match the whole regal like look of the primes and their whole thing. It's just kind of like she
Well,
looked
they didn't
nicer.
listen to the prime then. I mean, if her being, well, I guess she's not
they
a prime
they would
technically,
have
but
given
like
her better clothes
her
then.
being a what do they call it? Nightblood?
Yeah,
Like that totally saved them. Just saying, it's not because they had a change of heart. It's
yeah.
because they were like, Nightblood, you're saved now.
You
Because they
can.
now
You're
they're like,
useful.
who else in that group is a Nightblood, right?
Well, they
Can we make
probably
more Nightbloods, like, or whatever they're calling them, primes?
yeah. If they've
I
got
mean,
trouble with the children of Gabriel, they maybe have been killing off primes for a while. Who knows how many primes there were? They may be down to a few, but they may
there
have
might have
had
been
more.
a prime number of primes. Just kidding.
Yeah. Okay. You're a funny lady.
Uh-huh.
Anyways, I think it's a pretty good point to wrap it up. I've taken care of everything that I had in the notes, or we've gone over everything. Is there anything else that you wanted to go over?
Nope. I said my wrap up joke. Good to go.
All right, cool. Well, we'll see you around for next week's thing. See you then.
Bye.